Life is about trials and tribulations. Well, in the garden, it's the same thing. Sometimes we have failures and sometimes we have successes. In this case, all of my broccoli has gone to seed and it's just taking up room now. So what I've decided to do is accept the fact that things didn't go my way. Even though I planned to have a ton of broccoli, it all went to seed. So I'm just saying, oh well, that's life. I'm gonna not cry over seeded broccoli and rip it out, and I'm gonna put something new in its place. I will feed all these leaves to the chickens, and I will also compost it as well. So really, it's not gonna go to waste. It's just going to provide a different resource, and I won't have delicious broccoli to eat.
And if you'll notice, this patch over here did the exact same thing. Instead of forming nice big crowns of broccoli, it produced these little tiny seed heads which will eventually flower and produce seeds. So there's nothing to eat over here. However, I am going to leave these two plants alone because I just love how tall they bolted. If all my other broccoli bolted this tall, I probably would have left those alone too, because the pollinators love them and I think they look so pretty in my garden. So these two plants are going to stay, plus they'll provide seeds for me in the fall when I try it again. So the big question is, why did my broccoli bolt and go to seed? Perhaps this has happened to you, and maybe you're wondering why the same thing. So I hope what I'm about to tell you is helpful. Bolting is the broccoli's plant's response to stress. It's attempting to quickly produce seeds before it dies. After all, it's the purpose of most plants and trees to reproduce. So if a plant thinks that its time is almost up, well, it's going to try to make babies as soon as possible. So what did stress out my broccoli, and how can I prevent that from happening in the future? I know that broccoli does not like the heat. So if you plant your broccoli too late in the season and it experiences too much sun or high warm temperatures, it thinks it might die and it will quickly bolt and go to seed. However, I didn't do that. I planted my broccoli very early in the cool season, which I know broccoli likes. So the only thing I can think of is maybe I planted my broccoli too early and it experienced extremely low temperatures. I don't think broccoli likes to be under 40 degrees. And I kind of got impatient and I planted my broccoli in the winter. So that's what I think. It just got too cold on some of those nights and it didn't like it. Those super cold nights where the water in the fountain froze up and there was little ice crystals on my plants. So perhaps I should have covered it. But you know, that's how we learn in the garden, right? By our mistakes. If we learn something, then it's not a mistake. It becomes a lesson. Well, at least my chickens will get to enjoy the leaves. They go crazy over the broccoli and it's so good for them as well. So it's definitely not going to go to waste. Of course, I would have preferred it to go in my stomach, but that's just the way it goes, right? Okay, so now I'm going to chop it up and put it in my compost. Because my garden is so small, I don't have a fancy compost bin, so I just use these old nursery pots and put old plants and chicken droppings and stuff from the kitchen. These broccoli leaves will make a nice contribution to my compost. So the chickens got to enjoy my broccoli and all the red wiggler worms and microorganisms. Everybody's going to enjoy the broccoli except for me. Oh man, you got to have a sense of humor in the garden, right? Because we can't always control nature. God is always in control and we just have to enjoy what's given to us at the time and laugh about things that don't go our way and just learn from it. And it'll just make us better gardeners and happier gardeners if we have a sense of humor and just go with the flow.
After chopping up all those leaves, can you believe it? But they all fit into one bucket. Is that just amazing or what? Now I'm going to have more compost for my garden. And as you can see, the chickens are happy too. Now I have a fresh new bed to plant something wonderful. The possibilities are endless. I could either go with vegetables or maybe some zinnias or even a succulent garden. So of course I'm at Home Depot trying to get ideas on what I'm going to plant. It's a choice between this beautiful purple stalk, but if I look behind the stalk, I see irises over there. So I decided that I am going to plant some irises because I love the height and I love the color, and when they're done blooming, I could store the bulbs and plant them again for next year. But I'm not going to choose the ones that already have flowers. I'm going to choose the ones that have not opened yet, because that way they'll last longer for me. Now I need some more flowers to plant in front of these to be a good companion. So I'm really liking the way these little violas look. They're only 2 for $3. Each container, there's actually 2 different plants. So that's even a better buy than I thought. I decided I'm just gonna get a couple of the stalks as well. I think the pink will look so pretty with the purple irises. And what I'm gonna do is get a container that has 3 plants in it. So I'll only need to get a couple of these. Here's a little tip. When taking your plants home, I sometimes put them on their sides because during the drive they're probably going to fall over anyway. So I just set them down very gently so that they don't fall and break anything.
So the first thing I'm going to do is add some rich compost to my bed. It's a lot cheaper to buy a couple bags of compost for only about $5 than replace this bed with all brand new soil. I would have used the compost that I'm making in my own garden, but that's just not quite ready yet. So my idea for this garden bed is to design it with a thriller, a filler, and a spiller. It's the perfect combination and design for pots, garden beds, or any type of garden and flower display. Because the irises are the tall plants, they will act as the thriller. Basically, the thriller is like the backdrop of the design. Next, I will add my stalk plants as the filler. Filler plants are usually rounded or mounded and basically fill in the middle area of the container. They add lots of color, interest, and create a wonderful focal point for the arrangement. Now it's time to plant my pretty violas as the spiller. Spiller plants usually spill over a container, adding texture and visual interest to an arrangement. However, because my raised box is only 7 inches tall, I chose a spiller that won't necessarily spill over, but instead spread out, creating a beautiful bottom frame to my arrangement. I hope you found this video fun and helpful. Thanks for watching.